Hi, Alastair. How are you?
Hi there. I'm very well, thank you. Enjoying life in Dubai, and yeah, very happy to be on with yourself, and it's great to be part of Israeli FinTech Week.
Yes, we are very, very happy to have you. I see your firm very active. Now, in the past, all your team is doing amazing. You have a dream team of people. But before we dive into the firm and everything that you do, and you do amazing again, I want the audience to know a little bit about yourself, even before, so they get a little bit of a background.
Yeah, sure. So, and I've been doing this since about 2013. Um, Originally, really focused on London, Swiss markets, a bit of Monaco as well. Advising families and working with private families and individuals, really sort of private wealth sector, um, as we try to help them diversify into new sectors and emerging markets, emerging technologies. So really, the last few years has been focused on that, and uh, and then my equity and business partner now, from Majaj, he came on, and he's been in the obviously from the GCC and UAE. So that brought a really exciting and new area for us to expand into. Um, so now we work obviously with a lot of the sort of top families from Saudi Arabia, Bahrain, Kuwait, Oman, and of course the UAE, where I now call home. Um,
Yes.
so um, yeah, that's really been the journey to get here. For us, one of the biggest things, and obviously this relates to fintech companies as well, from whether it's a startup or a growth stage. I think the key thing with the GCC and UAE Bahrain, is it's focusing on the value add. It's a cliche. I think that people will often talk about, bring as much value as you can, and but here it's very, very important, especially those looking for capital.
Mhm.
If they're looking to take investment and bring on partners, it's very important to understand, what's that going to do for the local economy. Um, you know, are you going to get local talent involved? Are you going to base your MENA HQ in Abu Dhabi or in Dubai? Um, what is it a product or is it a service? Does that work within current infrastructures? Can you add value? Cybersecurity, all of these areas, areas which from Israel have always been, you know, pretty much the leading in the world when it comes to innovation and in the fintech space. Um, Maybe closely followed by England, but I'm just biased. Um, but yeah, I mean, Israel is phenomenal when it comes to this. So it's an exciting, very exciting time to be able to, not just from a of course, I mean, primarily from a peace perspective, of course, but allowing two very talented countries to to combine and to innovate together, is that's always exciting. It's just that maybe it has an even nicer gloss on the finish,
Yeah.
given what it's based around. So yeah, that's sort of the journey here so far.
Yeah, and again, as I said, I think you're doing the right work, and a lot of Israelis started to notice your firm because I guess you were hosting some delegations. Because this is all fresh. We are FinTech Week. We're starting right now, and this whole FinTech bridges. The first ones are flying. I see it's the banks and the FinTechs, it's the big VCs. How do you position yourself when you're starting something new with your firm? What kind of relations and focus are you looking for?
I mean, I think so from the private investment group, perspective, our sort of main areas we work in are, or in terms of where they're positioned, is those companies coming maybe out of VCs, and the founders and the early investors, the pre-seed investors have done their very important part of the journey, and now they're looking for that, not just growth stage, but business development as well. Who's going to be the end user? Who's this? From a it's not just banking, of course. It could be many different sectors where the technology can be used, and that's what you find a lot of in the GCC is you have, yes, very large families who have incredible wealth, but their groups as a whole touch on 18, 19, 20 different verticals, and for sure 3 or 4 of those verticals are going to be relevant for that company to work with, and joint ventures and strategic partnerships. So for us, it's reverse engineered. Really, we look at the company and say, who's going to use this? How can it be utilized best? Where's it going to bring value? If you answer those at the beginning, then you can work backwards and find your way to the best source of capital. Again, I don't want to throw out a lot of cliches, the smart money.
No, I was about to say the same thing actually. I was because yeah, these companies are looking for a smart, a clever place. Also, I understand that it takes time to build these relationships. Yeah, we Israelis sometimes we want to move fast. Some people just got to know you and they call you best friend. But I guess
Yeah,
it takes time, and that's where you are
yeah,
there to also educate, right?
yeah. I mean, it's an incredibly welcoming country and society in general. So that sometimes the no's are as important as the yeses, and not wasting time where they might love the idea, but maybe it's just too early, or maybe they've missed the boat and they're just a bit too late. But like any decent person would, they don't always want to offend you. So sometimes, getting that no is actually important, so you can focus your attention and energy in the places where there might still be a yes. And so for us, that those relationships which exist already, it allows us in a kind, nice way to be able to establish, don't feel bad. Is this something you're looking to do? Or no problem at all. We will continue discussions over here. And that's where those relationships really are invaluable, and they're quite intangible, to be honest. So it's quite difficult sometimes to make a company understand that, you know, you can come to the UAE. It's fantastic. You'll have an incredible experience personally and professionally. Um, but if you just sort of go around knocking on doors, you'll be welcomed warmly. But you could spend and waste a lot of time and waste a lot of money. Maybe more importantly, on going down routes that won't end up with where you think it might end up. And so for us, it's really, and this is something I have to touch on where we're quite unique, is the government relations. So we work in partnership with the governments in Dubai and Abu Dhabi to, whether it's the FDI department, whether it's licensing, whether it's media, entertainment, the Ministry of AI, etc. We've got the first Minister of AI in the UAE, so and food securities, etc. So these are areas and topics which it's quite unique, and to plug into those government and semi-government sectors and funds, of course, can really set you apart. And so for us, the relationships we have at the government level, so from a government relations perspective, it really allows us to bring something different to the process, rather than just sort of arriving with a empty suitcase and hoping we can fill it with money.
Yes, yes, definitely. It's always good to have a partner that is respectable, that has already a vast network of relationships, and it took you time to build these right bridges. So I guess a company that comes is enjoying all that vast experience and
Yeah, I mean, it's piggybacking, I suppose, on the back of those relationships. But another difference is being mandated by those government funds, or being mandated by those families, or with private wealth. We have a clear understanding from both sides. So it's not really in a brokerage sense. It's really from a double mandate. It's probably the best way to describe it. I mean, this for us, I mean, the local ecosystem here when it comes to startups is very exciting, because it is obviously incredible when it comes to Israel. And in the fintech space, whether you're talking about enhanced digitization of operations, or robotic process automation, or mobile payment options, remittance, any of these different sectors and verticals within financial technologies, I think this led us to build the bridge. I mean, the bridge is something we made, which is it's free. It's free for investors. It's free for startups to use, especially given COVID. It wasn't built due to COVID. It just coincidentally happened to be a big help for startups who Can't travel. No, there's no pitching events,
Mm.
to go to. There's no trade shows and conferences and all those lovely things that we used to enjoy doing nearly a year ago. Um, and so that's a platform where a startup can register and be viewed by families and even institutional investment around the world. All that is looking more at the venture space, um, and not just for the hashtag, not just for the press release to actually deploy. Um, so the bridge is something that we made to allow that to happen.
Maybe you should focus a little bit about that because that's super, super interesting. So people understand you have a platform.
Yeah,
Not
so it's an app, both iOS and Google Store, and the company can put their profile. They can put their white papers, their executive summaries, their video if they have an explainer video, which we always encourage to do because it's engageable and it's effective in telling your story.
yeah,
It doesn't have to be an expensive video. The best video is usually
the
the
simple one.
visionary.
Yeah,
Sit there in front of your phone with incredible cameras and talk for 5 minutes on what your vision is and why you're different. It's doesn't always have to be perfectly cut and perfectly edited. It
yeah.
can just be your impassioned speech as to why you're looking for support. Um, so that allows companies and startups to do that anywhere in the world. Um, and then we have thousands of investors on the other side. So it's investor driven in as far as the investors we work with can often be quite private individuals. Um, you won't really find them on crowdfunding sites, making sort of $500 investments into companies, but they are still keen to be able to see the deal flow, and that's been the differentiator.
And how
So it's a
much do
flat.
you? This is very interesting. I should actually use it myself and really check it out, and I will do it right after the interview. What is the commission? How does it work?
So at the moment there is none.
Hmm.
It's like like all things there may be premium features in the future,
Yeah,
in the way that that a LinkedIn works. If people want to utilize it for other reasons, maybe for business development, it doesn't always have to be about capital, etc. But at the moment, it's really just a way for us to kind of do something during what's been a difficult year for everyone.
yeah,
Whether you're a large company or
excellent.
fast growing company or a startup, to be able to continue to connect with those investors that are interested.
Yeah.
Um,
I'm
and
also seeing that, and I'm sorry that I'm asking all kinds of questions. You are really interesting what you're doing. That you also provide a lot of content online. You're very reachable, and that's how I noticed you. I mean, right when all these summits started with the UAE in Israel, you just reach to as many people that you can again in a smart way, I have to say, and that's super important. Also, having you here, all of these fintechs are watching us right now. I'm sure they would love to get on the platform and get some sort of a know-how about the ecosystem from you. So maybe you can give us a little bit of maybe a tip or two advice. What do you see? Where do you see the potential between Israel and the UAE, and maybe some few tips?
yeah, sure. I mean, I think when it comes to startups, especially in the fintech space, they're looking. The case study doesn't mean it has to have happened yet, but making people who can understand very very quickly and very very simply what it does, what's the problem, why you're the solution, and the stage you're at, and transparency.
Yeah,
Because the reality is when it comes to finding the right partners, whether strategic or capital, um, not that it's a bad thing to find out, but it will always be found out. So it doesn't matter how well you gloss over it with a really nice, sexy deck that everyone likes. When you get to the due diligence stage, if there's something, it will show itself. So for us, and the kind words that you said, obviously with regards to private investment group and how we are on, visibly, it's the same thing, transparency. The reality is that no company is perfect, no person, we're a flat organization. I'm fortunate enough or privileged enough to be able to be in position of CEO, and that was, when I was essentially a startup. And you have to take the plunge and you have to throw everything at it. Um, and so I think I keep mentioning the decks and the presentations. Get a great tear sheet, get a great one pager. People don't generally at the early stages read decks. We
Yeah.
all would love, you've got to have them, but they don't always necessarily read them. What they want to know is, what are the high level financials? What's the solution? And that is more digestible and will garner more interest, and you'll get on more calls and you'll get in front of more people if that's the approach that you're taking. So that would be probably my top tip for people to really focus on that. And the bridge is an attempt certainly to mirror that concept by saying, have a short video, have your one pager, have the amount you're raising, and you've got tags. So there's technology, proprietary technology behind it, which allows any investors to say, well, we're looking for fintech companies anywhere in the world, raising this much or at this stage.
Yeah.
And it will only show them fintech companies that match exactly that. So therefore, they're able to look through, watch the video, read the white papers, and if they're interested, they'll hit inquire, and the inquiry comes through to the team on the bridge team, and then they will still assess the level of interest. And if the level of interest is strong and it's that of value, then we connect the two parties and wish them luck. So that's it's simple, but it's not trying to. It came out of a desire from the investment world
Hmm.
rather than just doing another app. We all have too many apps anyway on our
Yeah.
phones. So this was trying to be one that actually added value to people rather than saying, oh, well, it's just
I'm all
another app.
about giving value, and I'm very happy because of this slot that we have here with you. We might have the potential of helping all these companies who are watching us. And again, how can they find out more about you, about the firm? How can they follow you personally and the content that you're putting there?
Well, our business development director Obadiah Aiton,
He's great, also. Yeah,
he's the content guy. We have an amazing CMO, Sandra, and we're very fortunate. And people are all, as I said, having that flat organization, it, it's very important because no man is an island. Just jumping back to the cliches again. Um, but the point being is that everyone has great ideas. You know, Obadiah does his sort of mandate Mondays talk, and it's an hour and a half, and and I can vouch it's not planned. I mean, he doesn't. It's just
that's great.
what's what's being thought of, and people get engaged in comments and ask questions and have discussions, and there have been introductions made through the comments section, for
Amazing.
example.
When are you coming to Tel Aviv? I want everybody to get to know you also here. I think it would be
Yeah,
great.
so we do have we do have plans. We are doing quite a bit with the Israeli government at the moment, and there's a few things happening in December, and then we would, I think we'll look in January to maybe come over and maybe bring some of the families from the UAE over to to meet some of the exciting opportunities, and certainly in the fintech space, which is an incredibly exciting sector right now in Israel. And it always has been, but right now it's really taking leaps and bounds. Um,
Amazing.
so yeah, it's an exciting time. Exciting time. I think one of my final pieces of advice when it comes to companies coming, and even from Israel, of course, but from anywhere in the world, it's really about action. And so Israeli companies coming over now, we've met a number who are already here, and they're already setting up in DIFC or PMCC in Dubai or ADGM in Abu Dhabi, all incredible places to base your company. Um, but I think it's about movement. It's about saying, this is what we're going to do, and actually begin that process. Um, but check it out and come. If message me, message Obadiah, message Adam, message anyone on the team, because there's a lot of things that we can do. Yes, we have a process. Yes, we have a business model, of course, but there's a lot that we can discuss, and especially for a startup who might not be in a position to be coming and doing a roadshow around
Yeah,
UAE and Bahrain. You know, there's still a lot that can be done. There's the bridge as a platform, and we're happy to look at decks. We're happy to give some pointers, and to say,
I
look,
love it. I love your attitude, and most of the people who are watching us will really feel connect. We Israelis are very direct, and you were just saying, talk to us, communicate, be a part, and I love it.
yeah, it's the easiest thing that can be the most difficult thing sometimes to do. Just be transparent. Be transparent and talk, and
Yeah,
honestly, you'll find the answer faster. Even if you don't like the answer. I've had many conversations where I think I know what the answer is going to be, and it's the opposite. But if you're transparent and you talk and you communicate, um, it's quite an easy thing to do. So yeah, yeah, we would welcome with open arms, anyone who wishes to find out a bit more, and you can go to the website, and LinkedIn, and all the usual ways
great.
and
We'll put
means.
it on in the comments as well. Thank you very, very much again for the partnership. We know this is just the start, and we're gonna do so many things together. I'm telling you, we just had a FinTech Nation Summit with banks, neobanks, challengers from all over the world. This is our second FinTech Week. Next year, we're planning to do the FinTech Hackathon with the UE, with Microsoft for startups and all the partners in the region. So I see you as partners, and I'm saying this in front of everybody here.
No, 100%. I mean, that's most of our businesses built on partnerships, whether they're old, whether they're new. Only in that way do you strengthen one another. If it's always only based on the fiscal benefit, um, doesn't always pan out. So if you can base things on strengthening one another, then usually the outcome will be good for all in the end.
Great. Thank you very, very much. And stay around. People are still want to network with you. And I'm very, very happy you're taking part of the FinTech Week.
No, it's a pleasure and a privilege, and I appreciate you inviting us to be part of it.
Thank you very much. See you soon.
Thanks very much.